And season's over. NFL season's over in my books because nobody cares about who's winning the Super Bowl. So that means it's off season for the NFL. Jesse, let us fire John Lynch, and we're going to make you the new GM for the 49ers. Congratulations.
He might fire himself. Rumor is he wants to get back in the booth.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, did you not hear about that?
I missed it. Fill us in for those like me that missed that.
Yeah, so there was a rumor. I forget who brought the rumor up, but they asked him about it during the exit press conference. They're like, "Yeah, rumor is that you might want to get back in the booth and might be done." And he got real fidgety. He like starts looking around and like started playing with something under the desk as he's answering the question. He's like, "No, I mean I'm here. Like my time's here, and I'm a 49er." And it just seemed really weird. I feel like I'm not saying he's gone, but I definitely feel like it was a thought that happened, right? Like that was a real thing. He considered it, and maybe it was more he considered it when they were losing, and once they started winning, he changed his mind. But he might be closer to going back than not. I mean, this is stressful. When you're on TV, it's not near as stressful. This is a stressful job. So
especially in this organization where excellence is demanded, and you can have your every decision's under a microscope, and they got a guy like Adam Peters that's behind him that everybody's high on, and so it's probably pretty tough. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like also our fan base, and media and stuff are really good at creating narratives and creating rumors out of nothing. So we can run with anything, right? So yeah. So anyways, Jeff Lynch is retiring and got fired, and we put Jesse Naylor as the GM on this show for So Real Sports Talk. So now that you're the new GM, man, first of all, can I hold $10? And secondly, what are the most pressing issues for the 49ers this offseason?
Can you hold $10? Well, if I'm the GM of this show, I'm wondering where my paycheck's at because I didn't see any money come across the table. I'm just saying. I'm checking my Cash App. I don't see any money in there. So hopefully I do a good job and actually get paid for this.
The wire's coming. It's a Friday, so it doesn't show up till Monday, right?
Oh, yeah. It's the way my bank account's set up. Yeah, I got it.
My savings account and my checking,
anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so sorry, what was the actual question?
What is the most pressing issue, or what are the most pressing issues for the 49ers this offseason with your GM hat on? What are the main focuses?
Yeah, I mean, so if I'm just looking at position groups, interior offensive line has got to be right up there. Now, if Mac retires, it's for sure number one. If Mac comes back, maybe it bumps down to 2 or 3, but they have to address that. There's a chance that they lose Lakin. There's a chance they lose Mac. I imagine if for me, I'm putting priority in bringing back Tomlinson. I think he has to come back, especially if there's a chance that Mac is gone. And I've got to put priority in bringing in either a young center to be groomed behind Mac or a veteran center if Mac is in fact going to leave. So I've got to get that answer from Mac, and I've got to get it before free agency starts. That's number one. Number two is, for me, I look at the core of this team and say it's firmly intact. We've got the Bosas, we've got Kittle. The receiving core looks really good. We've got the quarterback of the future. The running game looks good. To me, the defensive line for the most part looks good. Like I just feel like the core is there, but I need to figure out how I'm going to fill out depth pieces on this team. I'm not going to overpay for Arden Key and DJ Jones and some of these other guys as long as I've got Kosirak here, who, by the way, is out of his contract. So we're making sure that he's coming back. I'm paying him whatever it takes. And, that way I can build the line however I want, cheaply, and knowing that he's got our back. But as far as free agency goes, I'm not overspending. There's not a big name that I'm going after. We don't really have the money to do that. I'm just making sure that I build depth, young depth around this team. I'm not bringing back injury-prone guys like Mostert or Tart or Verrett. To me, I don't care how cheap they are. They're taking up a roster spot and they get injured way too often and they're getting older. So I'm willing to move off those guys, bring in young depth. And through the draft, a lot of people think corner is a pressing need. I understand that. That second round pick, I'm probably going edge rusher. I'm trying to get a solid edge rusher opposite of Bosa. That's the whole reason that Ford was brought in, and it just didn't work out that way. But I want two solid edge rushers getting after the quarterback. And then from there, I'm going to build my way out based off of how free agency goes.
That's interesting. I mean, I think most people are on the same page when it comes to what the 49ers needs are. Definitely offensive line, secondary, safety, nickel corner, I think are like the biggest things. You're going to see interior offensive line, nickel corner, and safety are probably like it when Mel Kiper Jr. puts out his thing. It's going to be that. Todd McShay is going to be that. What I want to talk about more, Jesse, is how we do it. Because I think after 5 years, you kind of have what you kind of see the tendencies. You see what the team is good at. You see where the team's weaknesses are. So my question to you is, if I were to ask you who are the best offensive linemen that we have on the team, who would you list?
Well, obviously Trent Williams,
Right?
Laken Tomlinson,
Right?
Mac.
Okay. Let's just say that was your top 3.
Yeah.
Were any of those guys drafted by the 49ers?
No.
When you're going to say who are the best linebackers that the 49ers have, who would you say?
Fred Warner, Aziz, Greenlaw.
Were those guys,
drafted.
right?
Yep.
So the 49ers have some things that they're really good at drafting, and they have some things that they're really not good at drafting. And one of the things that they're not good at drafting, unfortunately, is offensive line. So when people talk about, hey, we need to use our high picks to get offensive linemen, I say maybe that's not the way we want to waste our higher picks, because let's be honest, the best people we have are people that we get in free agency. So to attack the offensive line, I would more look at somebody that we could get in free agency versus using a high draft pick on. What say you to that type of thought process?
No, I think it's a great thought process. But to me, like the center position, again, if Mac's staying, then I'm not going to spend a high pick, but maybe like 4th round. I'm going to draft a center / guard, and I'm going to let him learn behind Mac. But if Mac leaves, like I said, I'm going free agency route. Like that's the route I'm going because I need a veteran center this year. If I have a rookie, well, a second-year quarterback, but essentially a rookie quarterback, if I have a young quarterback, that center position is so important that I need a veteran center in place regardless. And right. I'm not spending a high draft pick on him. And I'm with you on that. Now, kind of to your point, if I'm going to go and get a right tackle or a right guard, I'm probably not going to bank on my 2nd round pick to be that guy because holy crap, they seem to blow it on that. So
I like how you said bank on it because Aaron
pun
didn't
intended.
banks at all. So yeah, I mean, look, you said get an edge rusher. Here's my thing. The only edge rushers that have really worked out for the 49ers have kind of been fallen in their lap type players. Have they like made a choice on an edge rusher in the draft that's really worked out? Like Bosa, everybody was picking Bosa at the 2nd pick after Kyler Murray went first, right? Nobody was not going to pick Bosa. Solomon Thomas with the 3rd pick, bust, right? Kinlaw, we don't know what he's going to turn out to be. Eric Armstead, turned out to be good, but, DeForest Buckner turned out to be good. But these are also pieces that were just like top 6, top 7 picks where you're getting like elite. I look at, we have, somebody in Kosrick who knows how to develop anybody that you give him. Just give him an athlete, and you could find athletes that are, not going to be very expensive in later rounds or, on the fifth, where they just give up like a Jordan, what they did with Jordan Willis or Omenahu. Like, I think you could find talent like that. I do agree with you. Yeah, it would be nice to have just another stalwart there. I just don't trust that the 49ers are going to be able to draft him. And so, where can you utilize your assets the best? I think I would rather them aim at a corner and miss than aim at a D end and miss, because at least the corner, you're like, higher end corners are, the athletes are going to be in those first 2 rounds. If you miss on a D end, it's going to be some guy in the 7th round that ends up playing more, than all that. Like Arden Key's playing more than, Javon Kinlaw and stuff like that. So those, I think, are more brutal than missing on like a corner or missing on, a receiver or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like they should utilize the free agency where their drafting is the weakest. And I think I think the offensive line are weaker positions that they draft. They should just go in free agency and get a guy.
I think if I'm gonna draft an edge rusher, I'm just gonna ask Kasurek who he wants. Period. Like that's
It's
what
gonna be some
I'm.
dude in the 7th round.
No, I'm being serious because I know that he's going to spot a guy and say, I can work with this guy, I can make him elite. What he's doing right now is incredible, but he's taking a bunch of guys that aren't good and making them look above average. That's what he's doing. He's taking 0 sack guys and 1 sack guys and making them 5.5, 6 sack guys,
Mm-hmm.
which looks really good, right? Like he's able to do that. But I want a guy who's comes in as a 2nd round draft pick and maybe would be a career 6 sack guy every year, and he turns him into a 12 sack guy. Like that's what I'm looking for. So
Right.
for me, I'm just straight asking him, who can you work with? Every single guy we work out, you tell us who it is. You are going to individually work them out, and you're making this pick. Like we trust you that much with that pick. That's what I'm doing with it,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't trust anybody else to make that pick at all. So yeah, that's that. And if that's the route they take, then I'm definitely comfortable with taking an edge in round 2. I really am. Ekim talks about centers. Yeah, Jensen's out there. I know that Kelsey's out there. Like for me, there are centers that are available, but they're very, very expensive. Those top 2 guys, and then there's a tier below where there's still some pretty good centers that can be had for a little bit cheaper that are around 30, 32 years old. Those are the guys that I'm going to get if Mac's not coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just think that we kind of know how the 49ers draft now. And I think we need to just be smarter where we place our assets, because I think they are getting better at drafting because they're starting to realize what they're good at drafting and what they're not good at drafting. Right. And maybe the reason why I don't have too much confidence in the way that they draft defensive linemen is because they did it every single year initially. Like, so obviously not everybody turned out to be great, but yeah, we shall see. We shall see. But let's play the game, man. So look, there's a lot of free agents going on. So I'm going to list some free agents. I want you to tell me, you going to keep them or you going to let them walk? All right. And then give us a little bit of a reason as to why you're choosing the decision that you're choosing. All right. Some of
All
these
right,
you've
let's
kind
do
of
it.
mentioned a little bit. So, you can make it quicker. You can make it longer. It's up to you, man. This is your show, Jesse. I'm just here. It's your world. Um, so we'll start off from the top. Laken Tomlinson, left guard. We keeping him or we let him walk
100% keeping him. Yes, he
at
is my
any
number
cost?
one priority.
At any cost?
Basically, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I am. I mean, here's the thing, and this is where the 49ers have kind of messed up in the past. You cannot let the guys that are always healthy go. Like that's one thing you cannot do. So Lakin is always healthy. He's always productive, and he's always going to look even better next to the best left tackle in the game. Not that he wasn't good already. He's already very good, but now he's going to elevate even more. So yes, it basically at all costs, I'm bringing this man back.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, 49ers don't do well drafting offensive linemen. So Laken Tomlinson, somebody that is going to be there every single game, seems to have a really good relationship with Trent. And that left side, is going to be good for at least another 2 or 3 years with those two being there. And it's great to have just a side of the offensive line that you don't have to worry about, because
Yep.
that other side, a lot of question marks, right? So I'm with you. That's a no-brainer for me. I'm with you too at any cost. Hopefully he doesn't overprice himself out, but I think the 49ers should sign him regardless of what it costs and figure out ways to, let Parag be Parag, right? Figure out a way to fit everybody else under the cap.
Absolutely.
Let's go big boy on the other side of the line, DJ Jones.
Man, I really want DJ Jones back. I would love to say keep him, but I'm not keeping him at all costs just because we just talked about it. We know what Kosteric brings to the table. If I can get him for a team friendly deal, for sure, I'll absolutely do that. And I would love to bring him back because I don't know what's going to happen with Javon Kinlaw. I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy. So he would probably be, out of all the free agents, priority number 2, but I'm not breaking the bank for him whatsoever.
Right. Priority number 2 is pretty high, I would think. I think DJ Jones, for what we expected, I think he played solid, but wouldn't you say he kind of underperformed based off of what we expected him to do, coming out, as far as, especially with him looking to be the run stopper? That was kind of one of the weaknesses for the 49ers. So I don't think he's bad, but I do think that he will be over valued by another team, and we shouldn't get into a bidding war. I think
Oh,
defensive
I'm not
line,
going.
unless
Yeah.
defensive line for me, unless you are a Bosa or an Armstead, I don't think you overpay, because you can find production from people. You don't have to overpay because of how great our coach is at that defensive line position. So I would let him walk.
Yeah, I'm definitely not overpaying. Like I said, if I can get him for the deal that I want him, I would love to, but I'm not breaking the bank for him by any means. But he's the second guy I'm talking to out of all of our free agents.
Okay. K1.
Let him walk. Let him
Okay.
walk. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's a liability, to be frank. I mean, he makes some big plays. There's no doubt about that. He definitely makes some big plays, but he's super boomer bust. And it's clear that he cannot hang with anybody that's got any sort of quickness. He can't stay healthy. He's going to be more expensive than what he's worth. K1 can go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, end of the playoffs were kind of rough for him. He got exposed quite a bit, which was something that we weren't seeing from K1 earlier, in the last few years. So I definitely think he's hit that point where, you kind of let him walk too early rather than let him walk too late, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think we're starting to see signs. Let him walk and go after somebody younger that you could develop, or somebody, that is more consistent in performance. So there's some safeties. So there's Harris, Tart, and Wilson. Are you keeping any of those guys? Are you letting any of those guys walk? What is your thought process?
They can all walk. Every
Wow.
single one of them. Every single one of them can go.
So
I've
let's
got to.
focus on Tart.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so again, I put Tart in that same category as Verrett, K1, and Mostert. These are guys that are getting up there, that are injured, often injured. I think Tart specifically out of all those guys is gonna probably bring too much in free agency. I really believe that. Those other guys maybe you can get a vet minimum on them. Not K1, but the other two, Mostert and Verrett. Tart, you're definitely not going to have that happen. Tart is going to get paid a little bit, and I'm just not willing to pay him. I love what you brought to the table. I'm going to miss you next to Ward, who we played with in high school. But at the end of the day, I think that you can't stay healthy. You're on the wrong side of 30, and it's time to let you walk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one where I might disagree with you on. And the reason for that is I think that so the safeties in this defense are like erasers for mistakes that the secondary makes. and especially the way Ward and Tart. I mean, a lot of people I know. Samuel Rowe just said Tart blew it, and obviously, I'm sure he's mentioning that interception that was dropped, against the Rams. But the week before, he made what I think is a game-saving tackle on Aaron Jones, who should have had on any other safety. That's a touchdown because they're not booking it, they're not hustling the way that Tart does. I think Tart and Ward bring the best out of each other, and I wonder if you get. I think Jimmy Ward is great. I think he'll be phenomenal regardless of who's next to him. I wonder if Tart doesn't allow him to get to a different level, that because of their friendship and because of their chemistry, that another safety that you bring in might not be able to do. And I think if you lose some of that play in the safety, that hurts our secondary a lot. So I just think that we need an elite secondary, and I think that Tart is elite, and I think you do pay him, and I think you do bring him back just because of the comfortability with the system, with Ward, and especially with D'Amico there. And look, the offense is going to have a brand new quarterback, and we think that he's going to be great, and we believe he's going to be great, but he is a young quarterback. There's going to be some ups and downs, so we can't really sacrifice too much on the defense because they have to still be a top 5, top 7 defense for our team to have any chance. It's not like this offense is all of a sudden going to, score 45 points a game. We're still going to need somebody, the defense, to bail us out every now and then while Trey Lance is learning the ropes.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I can't do it, man. I can't rely on the guy. Like what?
How many
It's hard.
games did he miss this
It's hard to
season?
talk numbers. Like it's hard to talk numbers, right? Because
He didn't miss too much this season, right? He only missed like 1 or 2 games.
but then the flip side of that is like for as good as he is, and I don't want to even be perceived as crapping on Tart. First of all, I don't put that game on him whatsoever. For me, if I'm putting the game on him, then I'm also putting it on Ward for his 15-yard penalty on the hit to OBJ. Like there's a lot of little things that happened through that game. So this decision has nothing to do with that. I was having these conversations 6 weeks left in the season because we knew this was coming, but he still is going to miss. I don't care if it's a game, 2, like he's guaranteed to miss time. And for as good as he is, he's not a ball hawk whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
This guy gets 0 interceptions, like ever. And that's one thing that this team has been lacking for a while. They don't force a ton of turnovers and give their offenses second chances. And for me, I think this offense is eventually going to be very, very explosive. And I think the best type of defense to pair with an explosive offense is one that forces a lot of turnovers. They may not be the best. They may give up a lot of yards. They may give up points, whatever. But if you can get the ball back in your offense's hand, especially with the way that this team can control the ball on offense, I just feel like that's desperately needed. And unless you're bringing that to my team at this point, like I'm willing to let you walk. I'm not overpaying for you. If you want to come back on a vet minimum or a prove it deal where it's incentive laden, okay, maybe we can talk. But if you want to be paid like a top 5 to 7 safety, see you later, man. Like I don't want you.
Yeah, and it looks like the comment section is on your side more than my side. So people being kind of disrespectful to Tart too. So I'm not even going to show
No, see
those.
that, and that's like I said, I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I know Tart is a very good player, and I'm certainly not putting that game on him. Although, it was definitely a mistake, has to be called out. That's not why they lost that game. It was a part of a reason, but there you go.
Bowserzilla, Derwin James already talking coming to the Rams with Ramsey. Look, if Derwin James is looking to leave the Chargers, there is a coach that coached him that is now on the 49ers as well. So that would be interesting if somehow he could bring Derwin James over to the 49ers. Because if Derwin James is coming to the 49ers, I'll let Tart go. Tart, you could go because I would much rather have Derwin James than Tart for sure. Jesse, on that point, would you use the second round pick on a safety?
No.
Really? What if you could have got a guy like Javon Holland?
I love Javon Holland. I would have loved to have had Javon Holland last year, to be
Right.
real.
But if
But
there's
right,
that type of player right now in the second round, you take them and then have your safety of the future for the next, 10 years.
man, that's tough. I haven't gotten into the draft yet.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten into these players yet. So I don't want to close the door completely. I just feel like there's more pressing needs. I think a name that a lot of people are forgetting about, and I understand that he plays a little bit reckless, but sitting for a year, maybe losing a little bit of his freakish athleticism might actually help him play under control a little bit more. And that's Tavarius Moore. I think he can be pretty good. Him and Hafunga, I think they can patchwork it together as long as Jimmy Ward's there. So I'm not tripping that much over safety, to be real with you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna group these together, and I just want to say you could keep all of them, none of them, or a few of them, just whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Arden Key, Maurice Hurst, Contavious Street.
I'm gonna try to keep all of them. I don't think they're gonna cost that much. I really don't. Like a lot of people think that, and I could be wrong about this. I really think Arden Key's gonna come back on a super cheap deal. And here's why. The salary cap's gonna go up a ton. I think he's 26 or yeah, I think he's 26. So Arden Key being 26, salary cap's gonna jump significantly next offseason. He already said that he loves the way this organization is ran, which tells me that he wants to be here. So, if that is the case, knowing that he's going to play well next to guys like Armstead and Bosa, with a coach like Kasurik, I think he's going to take a super cheap deal and it'll be a 1 year deal, knowing that he will have now put together back to back good seasons, only be 27 and be able to get paid next offseason with another team. I think that's his plan. If these guys want more than like $1.5 million a year, they can all leave. I don't care. So I would prefer to have them all back, but I don't need any of them. So yes, my preference is to bring them back, but I'm not overpaying for any of them. I'm not, and by overpaying, I'm not giving them squat. Basically, slightly over the league minimum. That's the offer that they're getting.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go through our restricted free agents, and I want you to only choose three that you could bring back.
Okay.
All right. So we got Daniel Brunskill, Jake Brendel, Demetrius Flanagan Foles, Jermichael Hasty, Jawan Jennings, Aziz Al Shair, and Kevin Givens.
God, three. That's tough. Dang, that's tough. Okay.
Don't you think that's
For sure.
realistic though? Like,
No, it is super realistic. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay. Alshire and Jennings, those two are locks. Hmm. Does Mac retire or no?
Let's say no.
Okay. Then Brendel's out. I'll go Brunskill.
Interesting. Over Givens.
Yeah, that was what I was battling with between those two, but I just think the interior offensive line is going to need help, man, and I don't know how else they're going to get it. So
James
Givens was
Foster chooses Givens, Shair, Jennings.
yeah, Shair and Jennings are a lock, right? Like that's no brainers there.
Brunskill, Fazzy says Brunskill, Alshire, Givens. Here's the thing about Aziz.
No
I think,
Jennings.
yeah, that's what I think. Jennings is the only lock, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Um,
But hold on, in my scenario, I'm trying to trade Greenlaw. So okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that's what is interesting because if you put a tender on Aziz, second round tender, you might get that.
If listen, if somebody's going to give me a second rounder,
you let him go because once again, linebacker is a strength, right? So if you're looking at the 49ers as a business, in a business, you always want to buy low, sell high.
Yep.
So where can you buy low, sell high? Linebacking core, running backs, defensive linemen. These are positions where we could get a lot of production out of something very low and sell high. So Aziz or Dre Greenlaw If you trade Dre Greenlaw, that's the same type of mentality I'm having. If you trade Dre Greenlaw, of course you got to bring back Aziz. But if you keep Dre, sell high on Aziz. He's an undrafted free agent. If you could get a second or a third round pick out of him, you got to take that because you know you could develop somebody else to be just as impactful with the kind of coaching staff that we have. So that's why I only think Jennings is, because that third wide receiver we've been hurting for. I mean, Bourne was that guy, and we didn't really have a second at that point. So he was kind of second, third. Now that we have a definite one, definite two, Jennings to me is that definite three. You got to bring him back because he does so much in the pass blocking. He blocks very, very well. Seems like Kyle Shanahan loves him, and he's been clutch in third down possessions. So I think you want him there. I'd probably go Givens over Brunskill just because you gotta play Banks, man. Like you gotta play Banks at this point, right? Because you can't go 2 seasons without ever seeing the field. That's just a waste of
No,
a
I
pick.
agree. You have to play Banks, but like Brunskill, I just kind of back to your point, right? Like there's so many guys they can bring in on the cheap to fill and be rotational defensive tackles, especially in the scenario that I'm trying to bring back Street anyways, and I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
bring back DJ Jones. I need somebody that I can trust at guard in case there's an injury. Like I need some depth at offensive line. If I lose him, it's like what's my depth? Like I don't
Right,
have any, you know?
right. And it fits in line. I think you gotta use more free agency than draft picks with the offensive line
Yep.
with how 49ers do that. Harold has a question. With the Anthony Lynn hire, do you think that Lynn may attract free agents to the 49ers? We'll see. I mean, I don't know what I mean, if he could get a guy like Derwin James, if that guy is going, that
Well,
would be nice.
here's the deal. Derwin's under contract
Yeah,
one more year, so I'm not trading for Derwin. That's another injury prone guy.
right, right,
I
right,
would
right,
love
right,
to
right.
have him, but